As a courtesy to all the candidates, please turn off all cell phones and other electronic devices now, and please refrain from taking photographs or videos during the debate. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator for this debate, Ms. Ann Armstrong. Per league practice, she is not from this voting district, but Ms. Armstrong is a league-trained moderator and a member of the League of Women Voters. Ms. Armstrong will introduce the candidates and outline the format for this evening. Ms. Armstrong.
Good evening. We have with us this evening 5 candidates vying for 3 seats on the Bernards Township Board of Education. Before introducing the candidates and explaining the format for the evening, I have an opening statement that I must read from the League of Women Voters of New Jersey. Elections and voting are core concerns for the League of Women Voters. Year in and year out, leagues are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and the positions candidates take on those issues to help voters make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. From the New Jersey state question down to the local municipalities and Board of Education, all the election information you need can be found at vote411.org. Enter your address and get your personalized information on candidates and issues. Now, onto the format. Each candidate will give a brief opening statement. After the opening statements, we will have time for questions from the audience. All candidates will have the opportunity to answer each question. Each candidate will be given a set time to answer each question. Responses will be timed by a person sitting up front. After the question and answer period, the candidates will each give a brief closing statement. I'd like to repeat, as a reminder, please turn off all cell phones and electronic devices now, and please refrain from taking photos. As a courtesy to the candidates, please refrain from applause until the end of the evening. The candidates are Lauren Beckman, Karen Gray, Rishika Hira, Stefanos Iwan Jawana, and Suzanne Schaefer-Skalski. We will begin with the opening statement of Lauren Beckman.
League of Women Voters, Ridge High School Student Government, thank you for hosting the Candidates Forum. My name's Lauren Beckman, and I'm running for school board. First of all, thank you to everyone in the audience for being here. It's been a pleasure being a part of this community for the past 8 years. When we moved here in 2011, our twins started in 3rd grade at Cedar Hill. My son Max in 5th grade and my daughter Maya was at WAMS. We chose Basking Ridge for the great school reviews online, but my first week I knew we made the right choice when I got a call from Mr. Malika asking me about my sons and their interests and what class teacher might be a good fit for them. He also honored my request to let my twins be in the same classroom, which later I found out wasn't the norm here. My daughter had the hardest transition, and I am eternally grateful for the teachers and counselors and principals who didn't let her get lost in the crowd all the way through graduation. The years went by, and I volunteered wherever I could. I stay at home with my kids now, and my family and education are my passion. 2 years ago, a seat came open on the board, and I thought I would apply. There were about a dozen other candidates, and Tim Salmon was chosen. Since then, my children are getting older, and I have more time to give back to the community, and then another board position opened up. I call that opportunity. I have 20 years of experience in a corporate environment, and I know the skills I've acquired over the years are the same skills that will help me succeed on the board. I would like to ensure that our school's high standards continue, and we work together to solve the issues that are facing the board today and in the future. Thank you for your time, and I would be honored to get your vote.
Thank you. Ms. Gray?
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, to the Ridge High School Student Government, and to the REP group. We appreciate you hosting us here tonight, and we're happy to see so many faces in the audience. 21 years ago, seeking excellent schools and a safe community in which to raise our children, my husband and I relocated from Long Island to Basking Ridge. We raised our 4 children here, all of whom attended Bernards Township schools. Prior to joining the board in 2014, I attended public meetings regularly for nearly 15 years. It was my mission to become a student of our school district, endeavoring to learn as much as I could. During that time, I served in numerous volunteer capacities, both in the schools and the community, as a PTO committee chair, parent advisory council and district curriculum committee member, and PTO co-president at both Mount Prospect School and William Annan. I have been an advocate for our students for 20 years. In the audience, and since 2014 on this stage, I have lobbied and will continue to lobby for the greater good of all students. In the community, I've served 9 years on the executive board of the Hills Highlands Master Association. I led 2 Girl Scout troops. I've taught CCD, and most recently I served on the Mansion and May Executive Committee. I hold a degree in chemistry from the University of Michigan. I spent 9 years with Verizon in information technology systems with the Financial Reporting and Compliance Group. My analytical and critical thinking skills, coupled with my extensive working knowledge of our school district, positions me to be an asset to the students and families of Basking Ridge, and I welcome the opportunity to continue to serve the school community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rushika Hira.
You've heard this quote before. It takes a village to raise a child. Well, Bernard's Township is our village. Regardless of our profession or status or anything personal, the only criteria that matters is the needs of our students. Every member of our community should take responsibility of every child that walks through the corridors of our schools. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rushika Hira. Academically, I graduated from New York University as an NYU Honor Scholar. I have a Juris Doctorate from Rutgers School of Law. After law school, I completed a 1-year judicial clerkship. I have several certifications, including a certification in mediating disputes from the Harvard Negotiation Institute. I am a practicing attorney who specializes in family law. I have been married for 14 years to my college sweetheart. My husband is a radiologist and holds a faculty position in the radiology department at Rutgers Medical School. I have 2 children who are my pride and joy, a son who is 4 years old and a daughter who is currently a 5th grader at Oak Street Elementary. I am running for a Board of Education seat for the same reasons that many of you are here today. My family moved to Basking Ridge because we were drawn to a community that values public education and prides itself on its stellar academic reputation. I sit before you today as a parent who wants nothing but the best for our students and believes that my education, life experience, and skill set could be of value to our school board. I believe the board is doing a tremendous job, but I believe we have certain challenges and issues that we need to address so our school continues to thrive and be the model school of excellence that it is. The academic rigor has to continue, but we need to find a way to let our students breathe and be kids as well. I look forward to discussing further issues during this forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stefanos Iwan Joanna.
Thank you. Thank you, League of Women Voters, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Iwan Juwana. I feel very humbled to be considered as a candidate for this Board of Education. And my wife and I came here 3 years ago with our 3 little children, and I felt that I wanted to be a voice of all of those that I represent in this community, and I'm not taking this opportunity lightly. And I want to help our students, especially, to be successful in life, regardless of their home environment, cultural background, academic struggles, or even the need for more academic rigors. And the role of Board of Education are simple. There are 2 reasons that I think they need to have. One is to enable academic achievements while maintaining proper oversight of the school district. And the Board of Education must consistently and objectively manage the needs and the wants of the school district against its fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of Bernards Township. And I'm committed to be here for the long haul. My children are still in the elementary schools, and I'm committed to do the right thing for the school districts to become competitive without sacrificing quality. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Suzanne Schaefer-Skalski.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and the staff and students of Ridge High School, and thanks everyone for coming. The very first time I appeared before a Board of Education meeting was when my daughter was in 1st grade. She's a junior now, that was a while ago. I was upset about a decision in our former district to cut fine arts faculty as part of a budget proposal. I went to the meeting, presented my concerns, and then started to listen. As I sat through that board meeting and many subsequent meetings, I became much more aware of the challenges of school funding, the lack of support from the state, and yet the mandates that come from them, and the needs to balance what is best for the overall students with the demands of smaller groups. Fast forward a few years, and we, like many families, relocated to Basking Ridge for the excellent education. We have been amazed at the quality of the education our children have received and the incredible opportunities that are available. However, an area that I am concerned about, student stress, was something I wanted to help the district manage. In 2017, I found myself in front of the Bernards Township Board of Ed and interested in the open board position, and for 2019, I was elected to a one-year term, which concludes this January. I believe that as a district and as a Board of Ed, we need to support our students, teachers, and administrators to strike a balance between the desires to cater to goals set by outside groups and to make decisions that are best for our students. I have a somewhat unique perspective to contribute to the discussion on the Board of Ed because I've spent my career focusing on student outcomes. I've been working in admissions at Carnegie Mellon University, Lehigh, and Drew, and currently I'm a regional recruiter for Rutgers University. I also spent 14 years as a college counselor on the high school side, and at one of the schools where I worked, we switched from a traditional schedule to a modified block. As a current member of the Board of Ed, I have an appreciation for the challenges that we face, as well as the terrific assets the district has. It is important to understand the role that the board plays in our district and let our educators be educators.
Thank you very much. All right. It is now time for the submitted questions. I'd like to remind you that questions must be related to issues, not personalities. All candidates will have the opportunity to answer each question. A rebuttal from the other candidates will be permitted but not required. The first question, and of course the first one is really two questions. What is one thing that our district excels at, and where is one area that we are lacking? So the question is, where does the district excel, and where do you think the district is lacking? We will begin with Ms. Gray.
One? That's really difficult. I think we excel at quite a few things, but I would say that where we excel is with our phenomenal staff, and our educators are just so passionate and committed to our students. They're committed to them holistically as well as academically, and they show it in everything they do and every day of the week for 180 days of the year. One thing that we lack or we do not excel at, I think that we could do a better job with planning and anticipating for change, whether it is change that we bring upon ourselves and do the research and do the homework and bring it to the community and communicate two ways. And I also believe that we could better just improve overall communication even when change is not involved.
Thank you. Ms. Hira?
I agree. I think there's a lot of places that our district excels at. The most obvious that comes to my mind is academics. Many parents come here because of the academic reputation of our school. Our students are challenged. They're given the opportunity to think outside the box. They engage in projects. And overall, I think everyone is satisfied that there is a certain level of rigor with our academics. In regards to something that the district lacks, I was at the board meeting this past Monday where a number of parents spoke regarding the lack of the district's support for certain clubs and activities such as math counts. And as someone who was sitting in the audience and didn't know what math counts was, and then I later looked it up, it was actually quite disheartening to hear that a school of our caliber, parents had to come and actually fight to have this program this year. So I think as a district, we maybe need to look at that on a more global level and figure out if teachers are the reason or aren't enough supervisors, why are they not volunteering their time?
Thank you. Mr. Juana.
Thank you. So in terms of our excellence, I would say still academic excellence. We have a good reputation, the schools, and we have great teachers. We also have great curriculums. In terms of lacking, probably in terms of the transparency in the curriculum, because I wanted to know more about, for example, when my children go to school, I want to know what they are being taught on a daily basis, so I can see and follow them very closely. So I think if we can do that, that would be very helpful.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Schaefer-Skalski.
I would agree that the educational opportunities that our students have is definitely a strength that comes from the faculty, it comes from our course selection, it comes from the tremendous opportunities. I think one of the things that we really maybe don't excel at is that we focus so much on outcome that we lose sight of the fact that the students are really immersed in a phenomenal educational experience just for what it is. Not worrying so much about what it's going to lead to and where we're going with this and the next level and what the purpose is. Sometimes education is about learning for development, not just becoming.
Thank you. Ms. Beckman?
Yes, so I'm from California. We moved here several years ago, and I was really impressed with the music program at WAMS. It brought tears to my eyes, the first concert I went to, and my kids, I don't even think my kids performed in, but we went, and the difference between the California music program, and in California, we went from first to worst over the last like 30 years because of our taxing and things. But here we had such a strong music program. My kids have been in music, they've been in chorus. I love going to performances. My daughter and I, throughout high school, she wasn't even in them, and she and I would go to performances. And I was always impressed with these kids, amazing. And lacking, something that just comes to mind because it just came up last week, is we had a speaker at the high school, and I know the president had brought up that, Jimmy, had brought up that a lot of the kids didn't think it was a good choice for a speaker. It wasn't that relevant. And my kids who are in the high school already said that. And so I think we should look more at some of the speakers, because I know in the past also some of the speakers weren't that relevant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question. What have each of you done to prepare for a role as a Board of Education member? The question is, what have you done? Ms. Hira, you're first.
I moved to Asking Ridge about 4 years ago, and likewise, when there was a seat that was open, I did, fill out an application, and I came here and I made my spiel. And at that point, I don't think I didn't have enough exposure really to even be on the board. But since then, I've been regularly going to the board meetings. But if I'm not going, I'm listening to the Board of Ed meetings that are being videotaped. I don't have the privilege and the insight that other board members who have been doing this for several years have. But with that said, I think I bring to the board a certain skill set. As I said, I'm a family law attorney. I, on a day-to-day basis, am advocating for my clients. How do I advocate for my clients? I have to listen to them. I have to listen to their needs. I have to listen to their spouse. I have to listen and understand what the family needs. Once I have that information, I ask the right questions. After asking the right questions, can I only guide them and advocate for them? I think these are the skill sets that I bring, which is that I'm open-minded. I'm willing to listen to what the community, what the parents have to offer, and then apply that to any decision that I make.
Thank you. Mr. Juana.
Thank you. So the way I prepared to come here to be a board member, first of all, I did a lot of research, look at the past videos of the meetings, and then I also talked to the current board members and past board members. I also spoke to residents at Bernard Township, also spoke to the student representative, so pretty much the whole gamut of people, and see what are their issues, what are their problems, and how can I bring it up to the board? How can I help with the solutions? So that is how I prepared for these positions.
Thank you. Ms. Schaefer-Skalski.
So after sitting through meetings for the past year, I'm realizing that it's really hard to prepare to be a part of the board. You're not really aware of the actual role of the board until you start doing some of the training, sit through some of the committees, and then you start realizing that there's, the roles and limitations of the actual Board of Ed are somewhat not what you may have thought they were going to be. I was the president of the Education Foundation in our former district, and I think that helped me sort of understand some of the funding issues. But until you get on the board and you start listening, you really aren't necessarily prepared for it at all.
Okay. Ms. Beckman?
So the first time I tried out for a board seat was a couple years ago, and I went to Stanford. I'm an engineer. I've been in corporate world for 20 years. You think and you've got 4 kids in the school district, but I hadn't been to a board meeting probably the 2 times before I went. So since then, I've been going to board meetings. I've gone to there was a forum down in far away. It was like an hour drive on a rainy night. The New Jersey School Board Association, and it was very informational in that they told me a lot of things that I don't know about the board, but that there is training when you do become on the board. That's helpful. And I also, in the schools, I've been a substitute teacher for the last 4 years or so, and I love the kids, love them. From K through 12, they've been polite, respectful, but you get to hear what's going on and what they like and what they don't like and what's happening. But I agree. I mean, I feel like I've got some sort of raw skills, but I think day one is when I'm going to really find out what's going to go on.
Thank you. Ms. Gray?
So I'm not going to be redundant with what I said when I introduced myself, but I'm going to tell a story. When my children were very young, I think my oldest one was a first grader at Mount Prospect School. It was the second year that the school was open, and every morning I stood on the corner of Independence Drive and Allen Road with my younger 2, one in the stroller and one just sort of toddling around at the bus stop with everybody else. A then PTO president who had been a long-time involved PTO parent at Liberty Corner would drive by and see me every morning, and she asked someone she knew if they knew who I was, and said to them, "We need to get her involved because she talks to a lot of people when she's standing there," which I did, and I have done ever since. I just talk to the people in the community. I am interested in what they have to say. I am interested in what their kids are bringing home and telling them. I talk to my own children. I ask them what their peers are saying. I do it every day with my daughter right now. And I do the best to, as I did when I was a parent, sitting out in the audience, attending board meetings, advocate for what kids need right then, right there. And I hope to be able to continue to do that.
Thank you. Next question. Being on the Board of Education is a huge time commitment with great responsibility. What have you done to prepare for the role? I mean, I know we did preparation in the previous one, but this is including how long have you been attending Board of Education meetings and how many full, underlined, meetings have you attended? So we're kind of talking here about attendance at Board of Education meetings. All right? Mr. Juana, we'll start with you.
I've been following the Board of Education for months, and I've been going to the meeting even through the summertime. I've been attending the meeting and then watch all previous videos going back to over a year ago. And I've been looking at some of the issues. I'm not presuming that I understand everything or know everything, but I'm trying to be familiar with all the topics that was discussed. So, and those are the kind of topics that I want to get more familiarity once I get into the board.
Okay, Ms. Schaefer-Skalski.
I don't know exactly how many numbers of meetings I've been to. In our previous district, I was often the only person in the audience for about 4 years' worth of meetings, not consistently every single one of them. I have been on the board for the past year. I've not missed a meeting. And then previous to that, with my interest in doing the open position, I was here for a number of meetings before that. It is a time-consuming thing, and many of us have a good balance of jobs and family and are able to do it.
Ms. Beckman?
Well, like I said, so I had only went to a few meetings the first time I tried, but since then I've been going to them. I've been going to July, and the full time, I stayed there till 10 on Monday, but left immediately afterwards. And what have I been doing to prepare? What was the second?
It was really about attendance and...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
attending and-
That's good.
Okay. Ms. Gray?
I think I'm going to leave it at what I said previously.
I have the privilege of watching a lot of the Board of Ed meetings on my almost hour drive. As a litigator, I'm constantly going from courthouse to courthouse, so if I miss a meeting, and I've been to several, I literally play it on my phone and I'm listening to it, and often from beginning to end know what the issues are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. The next question. What can the Board of Education do about 3 things? Traffic in the morning, drugs in the school, and high taxes for folks on fixed incomes. So what can the board do about traffic in the morning, drugs in the school, high taxes for folks on fixed incomes? Ms. Schaefer-Skalski, we're starting with you.
Okay. Let me start with the drugs in school, because I'm pretty sure that's the only one we have a lot of control over, and even at that. We have a whole committee, which is social and emotional learning, that has been focusing on some of these issues, and we're really concerned about the use of drugs, alcohol, substances in our schools. We can't tell each individual student what to do, but we are definitely looking at education programs for that. Traffic in the morning. Well, I'd love to get rid of the bus line or the traffic lines on Lake Road because I live off Lake Road, but we're looking into alternate times for starts, and that has some traffic impacts, but I'm not entirely sure that we're going to do much about the traffic problem because some of it's intertwined with the amount of busing that we have. And high taxes for income,
Fixed income.
fixed income. We are pretty fiscally responsible with the budget. We stick within the 2% regulations that the state mandates of our budget increase. So we try to make sure that we're raising taxes the minimum that we can.
Thank you. Ms. Beckman?
Number 1, traffic. I put down, so I live 2.48 miles from the school. Free busing to the school, this is a high school, is 2.5. So my neighbor 2 houses down gets free busing. I don't. And I live on a short block with 4 houses. Mine is paid, that one's free. So I called and I said, can I just send my kids to that bus stop? And they said, no, of course it's going to be $800. And I had twins, so everything's doubled. And it's not per family, it's per child. And yet, I see the buses go, like juniors and seniors don't usually ride the buses, even though they have free busing. And that's a problem. I didn't know that wasn't part of our area. But that's something that I would like to see, that we maybe lessen it to 2 miles rather than 2.5. And maybe gets rid of some of the, get people to use the buses more and not drive. So that's one suggestion I just thought of, or have thought of. The drugs, I don't know. And the high taxes, one thing I just thought of, and again, I'm probably not, this probably isn't our area, but veterans get a $250 credit, I think, on taxes.
Thank you. Before we go on, I have to remind people that we have asked you to turn off any cell phones, or we're trying to prohibit the taking of photographs because we are recording it. The high school children are recording it, so that will be our rebroadcast. And I'm asking you again, if you need to use a cell phone, go out in the hallway, all right, if there's an emergency. Please turn them off. We asked you politely. If I don't see it done, then we're just going to have to stop. Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry about that, but you remember the three things, right? Traffic,
I do.
drugs, and taxes. Go ahead, Ms. Gray.
So with regard to traffic, I love Lauren's suggestion of getting more kids to ride the bus. Honestly, I think that is a major issue, but I think a lot of it has to do with the time that school starts, because having lived in the hills for 18 years, I know that my kids get on the bus at 6:40 in the morning, which is very early when you have a long day ahead of you or you have activities and sports after school. So understandably, many parents choose to leave the hills or wherever you live that isn't right around the corner at 7:02 or 7:05, and those 20 or so minutes are enormously helpful to students who are sleep deprived. So I'd love to see more children ride the bus because I do think it would have a direct impact on traffic. However, I think we've got to help them with that by not having them have to get on the bus in the dark. With regard, I'm going to skip to taxes and go back to drugs. With regard to taxes, the best thing that taxpayers can do is go to Trenton and fight for a better school funding formula where we get better state aid and more state aid. We fund a lot of other school districts, and that's because we're affluent. But it does hurt us. We've had over $18 million in lost state aid since 2011, and I only have 15 seconds, so I will say on the subject of drugs that the health curriculum continues to be updated to desperately try to bring these topics of addiction and binge drinking and vaping and just drugs and alcohol in general. I am committed to seeing the district do everything that we can to address the issue, particularly of vaping, which is just exploding, as we all know from the news.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Ms. Hera?
In regards to traffic, my daughter went to Mount Prospect for 2 years and then went to Oak Street Elementary School. So in regards to Oak Street, I can't say there really is that much of a traffic issue. I think it's fairly easy in and out. At Mount Prospect, definitely there was some backup. But I would have to defer to the parents who truly experience this on a day-to-day basis. I think I would have to hear from you as to what we could possibly do to fix this issue. In regards to drugs and vaping, I agree. The recent survey that just came out reflects that the percentage of students in our school district drinking and vaping, it's higher than the state average, and it's something that we definitely have to address. I believe we need education in health classes, maybe an in-school assembly on the topic several times a year. I think teachers and substitute teachers need to be on high alert for e-cigarette products, drugs. A lot of vaping devices look like USB drives. Stop it. Prevent the USB drives or these devices from coming to school. Ban them all. Install vaping detectors in bathrooms, or do whatever it takes to curtail this trend because our students' health and safety is a priority. I also think that we need to have discipline. There has to be ramifications. If a student is caught bringing drugs or is vaping, then we need to do something about it, maybe suspend them, but at the same time provide them with counseling or educational opportunities. I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, so we have to do something about it.
Thank you. Mr. Juana?
Sure. Regarding traffic, I've noticed like in the morning when you going into South Findlay, I see a lot of cars going to high school. So probably the busing could be one option. The other option is probably working with the township committee, maybe creating like a new entrance into the school, for example. But that is something that we cannot discuss it right now. I don't think we have any authority to do that. So we need to work with the township committee on how to do that, maybe by changing the zoning law or something like that. In terms of drug in schools, that is a problem. I noticed that. And vaping is also a problem. One thing that we can do, we can put like electronic detectors for vaping. There is a company that called Soter Technology. They make a device called FlySense that costs about $1,000 per device, has about 80 to 85% accuracy, and it will detect vaping or smoke and then send directly to the staff text messages or email, so you can catch the actions live, technically. So just an idea. And in terms of taxes, we need to be aware that 60% of the household in Basking Ridge, they support our school system and they don't have children. So only 40% of the household have children here. And we need to be cognizant of them. As a finance professional, I would like to help the school, the Board of Education to balance their budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, do any of you want an extra 30 seconds? Okay, go ahead. How about, Ms. Gray, go ahead. You go in order.
I just want to say that actively, as we speak, the Board of Education is in the process of investigating the installation of vaping detectors in our bathrooms. No determinations have been made yet, but that is an excellent suggestion and one that we hope we can bring to reality. And I just want to state that I support what Iwan just said. I just want to be clear that the Board of Education does balance the budget each and every year. By law, we have no choice but to do so.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Hira?
I just wanted to point out, in the process of researching this and preparing for this debate, I had the opportunity to speak to a few high school students. And one of the things that one student specifically said is that students don't appreciate the risks with underage drinking, vaping, and drugs. And I asked, well, what do you think would be impactful or meaningful? And she made a suggestion to maybe have speakers who have been impacted by this in their life to come and talk to the students. And she felt that that would be more impactful.
Thank you.
Just a suggestion.
Ms. Schaefer-Skalski?
I want to comment also about the detectors. While we are looking at that as a board, I think education on some of these issues is a cheaper way to approach this. $1,000 per times every bathroom in the entire school is a lot of money, and I'm just not entirely sure that that's well spent. And I also think we should look at the cost of busing for our students those of us who are paying to bus our students to avoid the traffic line. It's very expensive, and we could be putting our student, excuse me.
Yeah, excuse me. Sorry. Oh, see, when you come in late, you miss the statement about no phones and no pictures and no recording, and she just got here.
Can I finish my statement?
Of course you may, just 1 second. Yeah.
I just think we should look into the amount that busing costs for those of us who choose to purchase the busing.
Did you get enough time?
Yes,
Do you
thank
need more? Anyone else? We're done. We're done with the taxes, drugs, and high tax. Okay. No, traffic, sorry. Thank you. Yes. Oh, newspaper.
Oh, okay.
That's up to you. All right, next question.
Thank you. I wasn't sure.
But thank you, because I wasn't looking there. All right. It's long, so listen clearly. From what I have read, New Jersey teachers are the highest paid in the United States, with the lowest student-teacher ratio. That's a statement. This is great for the teachers and students, but there are businesses and seniors routinely leaving New Jersey because of the high cost of living. Question is, how will you weigh the concerns of local property taxpayers in your decisions?
That's me, right?
Yeah, Ms. Beckman, it is you.
Okay, so they were talking about New Jersey teachers are the highest paid in the U.S.
They're the highest paid
but
and
I
lowest
think
student ratio, but the
Ridge-
bottom line is, how will you weigh the
Basking Ridge
concerns?
is not.
Tell them.
And I don't have the numbers, but I thought that Basking Ridge is paid less, and it costs so much to live here, and so a lot of the Basking Ridge teachers can't even afford to live in the district in which they teach. So I know that's a problem, and I understand, but I don't know how that, I don't know how to solve that.
Ms. Gray, do you have any opinion on that?
Would you mind just repeating it again,
Well,
please?
You need the whole thing?
If you don't
Okay.
mind.
Sure. From what I have read, New Jersey teachers are the highest paid in the U.S., United States, with the lowest student-teacher ratio. This is great for the teachers and students, but businesses and seniors are routinely leaving New Jersey because of the high cost of living. The question is, how will you weigh the concerns of local property taxpayers in your decisions? Go ahead, Ms. Gray.
Oh, I'd like to reiterate what Ms. Beckman said and say, I think we are very responsible with our budget, and I think that our teachers, they deserve the pay that they receive, but they're not the highest paid teachers in New Jersey by any stretch of the imagination. I think the struggle is keeping costs under control. I am a huge advocate and have been a loud voice for making sure that we are managing class size appropriately so that we have classrooms that are full, not overfull, but full, and not classrooms with 9 students and 12 students if that happens to occur. And I think we have to carefully look annually at, particularly in the high school, what the elective enrollment is so that we appropriately manage it and keep whatever costs we can in the area of salaries at a responsible place.
Ms. Hira?
From my knowledge and what I have heard, the board is fiscally responsible. With that being said, I think we can always work smarter with the funds that we have without affecting students and other members in our community. You always want to find a way to maximize taxpayer dollars. But again, I think teachers deserve the salary that they get. They need the resources that they need in order to do the job that they need to do and what we expect. Families who have students in the classroom shouldn't have to see cuts with school programs. So our district and our parents and our students deserve that. So I think the board is doing a pretty good job in fiscally managing the budget.
Thank you. Mr. Juana?
Sure. Let me just say one thing. We love our taxpayers. We don't want them to live. We want them to be here in Basking Ridge, so please don't leave. Now, having said that, I believe we need to have an effective capital allocations in terms of the budget. If we can do more with less, that is even better. And we always have to be cognizant of our taxpayers as well, because we have our fiduciary responsibility to them. We want to make sure that all of the money is being allocated wisely to whatever project, whatever cost. Make sure we reduce waste spending. And we currently have over $100 million in budget, and that is big. And we can deliver the best for our children. So I think we just have to be cognizant in terms of how we spend the budget.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Schaefer-Skalski.
Our staff is our most important asset. Teachers really should be paid what they're worth. And while our teachers are not the highest paid in the state of New Jersey, we really need to keep them. Having a quality school district is what keeps our house values up. We are a district that people want to move into. Actually, I think all of us said we moved into the district because the schools. So this is helping us in the long run. High taxes for me mostly come from Trenton. School taxes are not going up as high. We're limited in the amount that we can raise our school taxes. So I would suggest that we turn that back to Trenton and look for school funding and alternative tax relief.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Beckman?
So I sub in the district, and I get paid very little. I could get more working at Crane Farm as the person who sells fruit. And that's okay because I do it for the love of the children and not for the pay. And also, in all the classes I've subbed, and at Parent Teachers Night, which was a couple weeks ago, there was no class size less than 25. And even more than that. So,
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, sure. Ms. Gray?
I think Ms. Beckman, again, raises an excellent point. We do a great job of managing class size. We do have outliers, and we need to just keep those in mind. I just want to speak to the cost per pupil in our district. It is a very responsible, middle-of-the-road cost per pupil in the state of New Jersey, and that is a testament to what Iwan was saying about responsible management of our budget.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, on to the next question. What is your experience with special education? How will you work to support the rights and needs of students with special needs? Ms. Gray, I think we're starting with you. Special ed, rights and needs of special needs students.
In every way possible. It's our responsibility and our duty, and we have to provide the best programs, just like we want to provide the best programs for all of the students, K to 12, well, and in the case of special education, perhaps as long as to age 21. We want to provide the best programs and the best services that we can for every student in our district. Not anyone should be accepted, and I do think we have a phenomenal special education staff and support staff in our district, and we need to support them as well in delivering the best possible education to our special needs students.
Thank you. Ms. Hira?
I have to agree. In any way possible, we need to make certain that all of our students are getting every opportunity possible to reach their full potential, and I would support whatever it is that they need.
Okay, Mr. Juana.
I agree as well. I think we need to develop those students to their maximum potentials. I'm not familiar as much with special education, but I'm willing to learn more as I get into this opportunity.
Thank you. Ms. Schaefer-Skalski.
We have such a good program here in our district that the board has supported, that many districts will send their students paying us tuition to come to our program. That's how good it is, and I think it's something that we're absolutely committed to supporting.
Okay, fine, thank you. Ms. Beckman?
I agree with everybody else.
Okay, fine, thank you. Let's go to the next question. Many parents feel that standardized testing is neither fair nor objective, that it promotes a narrow curriculum, unnecessary levels of negative stress, and that excessive testing undermines children, our future adults' ability to produce innovative and critical thinking. What is your position on standardized testing for Bernards? Ms. Hira, we're starting with you.
Well, as we all know, Park has been replaced with NJSLA, and according to the state of New Jersey Department of Education, there will be approximately 25% less testing. What we know is that testing causes added stress to our students. It takes away from teaching. Do I personally believe that these tests accurately measure the things that we as a district need to be measuring? The answer is no, I don't. I think we need a better way of assessing student learning and how students perform in comparison to other students in model competitive school districts. I do not believe that these tests are an accurate measure of how much a student knows. It's a standardized test. It is not a true measure of how students are going to perform in an advanced level class or in any other capacity, in my opinion. With that being said, we do need a benchmark. More so as a district, if we are administering the tests, then I do believe that all students need to be encouraged to participate as the results impact the district as a whole. So until we come up with a better measure, then I think we need to continue to do it, because as a district, we have decided to implement the test. But personally, do I believe that it works? No.
Thank you. Mr. Juana?
I agree with Mrs. Hira. Standardized testing is just a way to measure the students, but if we do it excessively, it can add more to the stress of the students. So I would personally I prefer to have the children to learn something else, that's something that they really want to learn, not just learning about just to pass the exams, basically. So, but this is a part of the curriculum, part of the law that we have to abide to, and until we can find something better, then we have to work with this.
Thank you. Ms. Schaefer-Skalski.
Historically, as doing what I do with admissions, we certainly deal with a lot of standardized testing, and I think that I have always stated that I'm not a test-compulsive person. I don't think that it represents what students can do. I hate that we spend so much time prepping and worrying about these tests and so much classroom time expended toward test prep. I think we need to look at other factors, but we need still, the state requires certain amounts of testing. Parents demand benchmarking. They demand information about progression of their students. So there is some testing required. I just really feel strongly about minimizing the impacts of that.
Thank you. Ms. Beckman?
I'm going to say something funny. I loved standardized testing as a kid. I loved taking those tests. I don't know why, but I loved them. And I never had my kids leave for the park or anything. But that said, I get the stress, and it's not for everybody. And I'm wondering if private schools don't have testing. Public schools do. Is there? I don't know if they're looking into other ways that aren't testing, but you're taking certain level classes that meet minimum standards.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Ms. Gray?
My short answer would be, it's a necessary evil. The longer answer is that we are a district that needs the precious little state aid that we get, and we are compelled to have some benchmarking test that we are measured against the other school districts in New Jersey. In reality, we know that ours is a high-performing school district in which these tests often mean very little. That said, sometimes we have to do things we don't like and don't want, and the best approach that I can see is write your Congress people, right? Go to Trenton, fight again. And we had an unbelievable group of advocates a couple of years back that, and go you, because you guys were amazing, and it did make an impact. I mean, I know that it took some time, but I sincerely believe that the people in Trenton don't understand necessarily what the best approach is for this, because they're not educators. So until we have something in place, that I think we should just minimize the impact on the children in any way that we have control over.
Thank you. Any rebuttals? Okay. Next question. What is your opinion of the proposed block scheduling at the high school? Do you feel it's worth the significant cost to taxpayers? And if so, why? What potential problems do you foresee with this change? The question is about the proposed block scheduling at the high school. Is it worth it? And are there any problems that you can foresee? Mr. Juana, you're first.
Okay. With block scheduling, I think we are in the phase of testing it, trying to implement this thing. From what I heard, it could be very successful if it is implemented properly. Although it doesn't come free, it comes at a cost. Now, but also we need to figure out if, for example, if we have like a new development, new houses development, somehow we also need to add additional areas into these constructions. So I believe that with proper scheduling, we can achieve better for the school district.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Schaefer-Skalski, proposed block scheduling.
Yes, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, I was at a school that switched from a traditional schedule to a modified block schedule. And there was the usual trepidation and the same things that I'm hearing from parents about switching to that schedule. And to a T, everyone at the end of the switch said we would never go back. The added classroom instruction time is tremendous, and I think that's something that we keep forgetting about in the conversations. There's just more time for classroom time because we're not switching classes as much. There's not the time to race from one end of this building to another. We also really gain a lot in the way of social and emotional learning issues. So student stress is a little bit less. They don't have to prep for 8 classes a day. It's just 6, so it's a little bit less. The homework load is distributed appropriately. It's not that you get extra. So the teachers have more time within the classroom to do multiple activities. It's not that you're just sitting there and getting lectured at for the entire period of time. So I really think that there's some positives. The one challenge is just making sure that the teachers don't lecture for that period of time, and that goes into professional development, and our school district does a tremendous job with our professional development program, and I think that the teachers who have experienced this before can learn from each other and focus on how to adapt their classes.
Thank you. Ms. Beckman.
So the block schedule, my kids will be gone by the time it's here, so I'll be a taxpayer paying for this. But I think I agree, and I think it's a great idea. And I have friends whose kids do the block schedule right now. And one of the biggest things for me is the single lunch. So you have 5 periods of lunch, and you've got these kids who don't have anybody to have lunch with. They've got barely any time to eat. And I think this will be just a much more kind of relaxing schedule. And at back to school night, I see how harried it is in the hallways, running to 9 classes, and they gave us 6 minutes in between classes, and I'm not sure if that's how many the kids get. But you have a class here and you have a class there, and you do this 9 times, and then each class is 43 minutes. It is crazy. So I'm for block schedule.
Fine, thank you. Ms. Gray?
I too support the change of the master schedule at Ridge High School for all of the aforementioned reasons from Ms. Schaefer-Skalski and Ms. Beckman. Additionally, everyone you speak to who has experienced the change or just lives with that schedule says the sense of calm that overtakes the building compared to the traditional schedule is amazing. But there are other benefits. There's more professional collaboration for teachers, and the teachers that I've spoken to are just yearning for more time with their colleagues. There are times when, or I guess in many situations, teachers who teach the same course don't ever have the same period off during the day to touch base with one another, to just share their experiences and what they've learned from a lesson they may have just delivered. Additionally, the rotation provides practical benefits, like the fact that students who leave early or arrive late are not missing the same class each and every day on the occasion that they have to leave. I think a lot of planning has gone into this. This has not been entered into lightly. The district has been looking at this for over 7 years. In the meantime, district after district all over the state, and competitive ones like ours, have all switched over, and we're still not there yet because of facilities. So I do believe we need this.
Thank you. Ms. Hira?
I'm going to piggyback right off that. I think we're behind the 8 ball, and I genuinely believe the students will most certainly benefit from this new schedule, which, like Ms. Gray is saying, it's been implemented in other competitive and comparable school districts in our state. Princeton, Mendham, Livingston, they've all implemented this schedule. I genuinely believe the extended time in the class will provide opportunity for an increased use of various student-centered instructional strategies. It'll be a different way for the students to learn. It'll give them more time to work on hands-on projects, in-depth discussions, small group learning, something that is highly effective. It also might just give them an opportunity to breathe,
Thank you. The next question. How do you feel about the $7 million addition to Ridge High School without going to a town-wide vote for such a large expenditure? We're talking about the $7 million addition to Ridge High School. We're starting with Ms. Schaefer-Skalski.
So the question is, how do I feel about
Yeah,
it?
how do you feel about it? That they didn't go to a townwide vote for such a $7 million large expenditure?
Okay, that's sort of two different questions in some ways. I feel like this has been necessary for a really long time. We have lunch at the high school 5 periods out of 9. We are starting to serve lunch at 10 a.m. and we don't finish until 1:30. For those students who have to eat at 10 a.m., it's really early, and those students who have to eat at 1:30 or at 1:30, it's very late. I think that this, addition for classroom space, the building was built for 800 students, and we have 1,400 students in the building at the moment. We need some extra space. That the budget allows for it within some conservative budgeting that's been happening, I think is only a bonus for the taxpayers who don't actually have to pay for it at the moment. As far as, what was the other half of it?
It's just for such a large expenditure.
Oh.
How do you feel about it
Well,
going
yeah.
without a townwide vote?
Fine.
I think you've satisfied that. Ms. Beckman?
So I don't have really much background on this
Okay.
question, so I'm going to pass on this.
All right. Ms. Gray?
Having been here when we passed the $52 million referendum to put this very space that we're in, as well as add 8 classrooms at William Annan and space at Oak Street School and the space for the the preschool for the autism program at Mount Prospect, there just wasn't a way then to realize this problem that we are confronted with today. The cafeteria has been too small for 15 years. Students have come and gone. How many classes is that? Graduating classes. And they've eaten lunch at 10 o'clock in the morning and 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And we just spent a good 20 minutes on Monday night listening to the community express different public comment concerns. And a resonating one was that the 8th period lunch, the students don't have food available to them, or at least not the food they're looking for. They have the remains. So it is a question of social and emotional well-being that the students have some semblance of control over their lunch, their one break during the day. And as far as the vote, I understand the concern. However, I would say that responsible planning is what has us in a position that we don't need to borrow money for which we would potentially need to have a vote. So when you're doing a renovation at your house and you know it's coming up, you plan and you plan and you plan and you save, and that's what has happened in this instance because we've investigated for the last 7 years.
Thank you. Ms. Hira?
I'm just going to piggyback off of it and just say I believe it's an investment that is being made with a look at the future. It's not going to be implemented today, but it's something that's needed. In regards to the vote, I don't think I can really speak to that.
That's fine. All right. Mr. Juana?
Right. I think the additions of these new constructions is necessary, especially when we try to add the new housing developments, because we may add more students to the school district. So in terms of the $7 million budget, where it came from, I cannot say too much because I don't know how we get to that number or where it came about. So I just need to get more information about it if I'm lucky enough to get in.
Thank you. All right, the next question. How do you, that was the last one, sorry. What steps will you take to reduce our school district's carbon footprint and promote sustainability within our schools? Talking about reducing the carbon footprint and promoting sustainability within our schools. We're starting with you, Ms. Beckman.
One thing that I notice, and maybe I just haven't seen it, but there's not a lot of recycling here at the high school. I come here on the weekend for games or activities or back to school night, and there's nowhere to put the water bottle. They supply you with a free little water bottle, and then I have to take it home with me and throw it into my recycle at home. So I think we need to start sort of an extensive recycling program here at the school. I also think we should get rid of these and have these reusable cups And I do like that they have installed the reusable water fountains throughout the school here, and that I think was several years ago. I'm going to pass right now because that's all I can
All
think
right.
of at the moment.
Okay, Ms. Gray, carbon footprint.
I'm going to say that I am extremely supportive of reducing the carbon footprint at home, at school, anywhere. However, individually as a board member, I don't know that there's a whole lot one person or even one body of 9 can do. It really does take a village, and as Ms. Beckman just pointed out, just bringing a reusable water bottle eliminates the need to find a place to recycle it, and of course, recycling is a practical necessity. And I do think we could do a better job. I know that we had a presentation last year on the recycling process here at Ridge High School, and I recall that there were going to be efforts for some fine-tuning. So I guess we could follow up on how that is coming along. But I would say that education, as always with anything, education, let's teach our kids the importance of taking care of this one earth that we have.
Thank you.
It kind of sucks that I go after her because I agree with everything she says. With that said, I agree. Education is the key, and you got to start at the elementary education level. What you teach in the schools, same things, those same principles have to apply at home. My daughter is part of a Girl Scout troop, and this is something that they talk about at the Girl Scout troops, and the girls are actually so excited, and they come to their meetings and they bring their own, water jugs, and they're like, and then if they see us using plastic bottles, they'll call us out on it. You have to build that level of excitement, but a lot of it, it's just education, it's just reinforcing the same thing at home. Everybody as a community has to be on the same page.
Thank you. Mr. Juana?
I'll piggyback on both of them as well. Well, really, with this issue, it is not just from one person or one group of families. It is everybody need to be cognizant, and they need to know, more about it. More people need to be educated, and I believe that is the way to go. So I don't think the board should be responsible how to reduce, carbon footprints just as a group. I think it is more collective effort of everybody.
Thank you. Ms. Schaefer-Skalski.
I love this question, actually. Last year, not only did we hear from the district about what some of the things that were happening, but we actually had a group of students that I think were in AP government that formed a team, and they did a project, and they actually did a project on recycling and presented that to us, but they also won the state competition and went to the nationals with this proposal. And it's something that I think we need to support students who are bubbling these ideas up. So the hope is that they'll be coming back and talking to us and implementing that. I know Mr. Krause was talking to them about getting that in place, but it's great to hear from the students. And it's okay if they call us out on the water bottles and things like that. So putting all of that into place, there is, a good amount of recycling, but we certainly can do better.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. How important is a financial background to the role of the Board of Education? Ms. Gray, we're starting with you. A financial background.
I would say that it's a nice benefit, but important. I think it's more important that you're willing to listen and learn and understand the issues that confront our schools, and whether those are financial or instructional or facilities. I think any of those areas, it's great if you have a background in one of them, but it's not essential to being a successful and contributing board member.
Thank you. Ms. Hira?
I agree. I think it's helpful. It's a plus. But I believe a lot of the issues can be addressed without a financial background. Any type of background is helpful, and we all come to the board with different set of skills. But, it's not going to hurt, but I don't think it's a necessary skill set.
Thank you. Mr. Juana?
Yes, thank you. I believe that it is helpful. It is a benefit. I have financial background, so I can also help the finance committee or even whoever in charge of the budget. I can contribute my thoughts about how to do it more efficiently, effectively, and more productive. So I think that could be a plus, in my opinion. But I think to be a successful board member, you need to be more well-rounded overall.
Thank you. Ms. Schaefer-Skalski.
I would agree with all of these statements. We have different committees on the board, and there is a finance committee, and I would presume, I'm not on the finance committee at the moment, but presume that it would be helpful to understand some of the financials, but I don't think you have to have an MBA, and each of us contributes in the way that we can best contribute.
All right, thank you very much. Next question. Teacher turnover is increasing throughout the country. How can you work with staff in the BTEA to retain teachers and promote staff wellness? Ms. Hira, I think we're starting with you.
My understanding that our school district does pretty well. Our students, our teachers are pretty amazing. They seem happy. Overall, I think there's a positive climate in our schools. Do I think that the teachers would benefit from further training and resources as they needed, workshops? Absolutely, absolutely. But again, I think the key is listening to the teachers, seeing what their needs are, and then implementing any policies and doing what we need to do in order to help them.
Thank you. Mr. Juana?
I believe the same thing. I think with all teachers, like, we need to listen to them, and we also need to encourage them to see how we can help them in terms of their personal growth and how they can learn more. So I think that is one of the things that if the school district understand them, and because sometimes people need not just the financial reward, but could be emotional reward, like personal growth, personal development. So those are the kind of things that can help retain the teachers.
Thank you. Ms. Schaefer-Skalski.
Last year during the strategic plan, one of the goals that came out was faculty support and staff wellness. It's a district goal of ours to support the faculty, and I believe that the board is very much committed to that. I would hope that anything that we can continue to do would support staff in staying at the school district.
Thank you. Ms. Beckman?
So I think a lot of the teachers are fairly happy to be here. It's a great school district, and I think the parents are very active. And like I said, when I teach in a class, the kids are always respectful, all across the board, K through 12. We do have staff appreciation that I've worked at many years, staff appreciation meals and things. My guess is part of the turnover could be pay, and I don't know how we discuss, or we've discussed that already.
You've talked about it. Okay. Ms. Gray?
This is a complex question, although it may not seem that way. I think that there's a couple things to keep in mind. Teacher turnover is not something that can be placed into one bucket with one explanation. There's a lot of reasons that teachers might come and go from a district. That said, I think it's incredibly important that we do all that we can to support our staff and keep them wanting to be here and teaching our students. I think professional development, which I have long championed all the way back when I was a PTO co-president, and we had deep budget cuts and we had to do PTO fundraising just to get some staff training in at the elementary school. I think the more the better, because the world is changing fast, and any opportunities we can give them to get professional development that will go directly back into the classroom where our children are is key to our continued success. That said, I will also piggyback off of what Ms. Schaefer-Skalski said about our district goal to support staff social emotional learning, and say that there is a Board of Education SEL committee, and that committee is committed to doing what we can to support that SEL effort for the staff members, and I know the administration is as well.
Fine, thank you. All right. Which committees are you most interested in serving on, and why? I think, Mr. Juana, you're first.
Oh, my turn?
I think so.
I would like to participate in the Finance Committee, just because of my background, and also in the Curriculum Committee, because I think that is where I can have more impact directly to the children.
Fine, thank you. Ms. Schaefer-Skalski, what committees?
So when you're a new board member, you get put on committees, which is fine. And most of us start on policy, which does not sound particularly thrilling, because we are looking at the policies that come in from the state, and the regulations, and determining how we're going to implement them within our district. And sometimes it's just a lot of legal stuff, and sometimes it's very interesting conversations. I actually would like to stay on policy for president out there if I am reelected. And I would love to, because my interests really fall into SEL, I would like to be on that committee as well.
Fine, thank you. Ms. Beckman?
So I have been going to the meetings, the board meetings, but we don't get to go to any of the sub-meetings that happen if you're not a board member. So I don't really know a lot of the details, so I'd be happy to be on any board. I think I would like curriculum because I do like the learning part of the school. And ad hoc is just sort of the mishmash, and I like that too.
Thank you. Ms. Gray? Committees.
Currently, I serve as the Curriculum Committee Chair, and I'm also on the SEL Committee and the Personnel Committee, but I have served on all 5 committees, and I've chaired 2 of them, and I will serve in any capacity. I do appreciate what Ms. Schaefer-Skalski just said, though, because when I first came on the board, I was on the Policy Committee, and I ended up staying there for 3.5 years, and I loved it because you learn so much about what we can and can't control and what we're expected to address, and it's a great place to learn.
Ms. Hira?
I think I would be okay on working on policy. Again, law degree. I was the marketing editor of the Rutgers Journal of Law and Public Policy. I kind of enjoy it. But other than that, I think curriculum would be a place of interest for me because I think that we need to look at that a little bit further. We need to explore the curriculum and see if there's anything we can do better.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this will be the last question because of time. The question is, how will you promote diversity and tolerance in Bernards Township Public Schools? Diversity and tolerance. Ms. Schaefer-Skalski.
So one of the things you start realizing on the board is you have a lot less impact on individual things and not quite as much as you'd hoped. I think as a board, we try to make sure that students feel very much accepted. We're a pretty diverse community, and we'd like our faculty to reflect that a little bit more. Maybe that would be an effort that we could do. But the board really is there to support our educators and support our staff in any efforts that they're making to make sure that diversity and cultural awareness is happening within our district.
Okay. Ms. Beckman.
I've been a champion of that my whole life, being a diverse person in this town as well as on the board. And I think that this is going to be the first time that we've got a person of color on the board in this race because there's going to be 3 of us on the board. And as an engineer in the 80s, I was one of the few women, and we all kind of stuck together, or the few of us that were there. And I think it's great. I mean, and I think this town, just the diversity of this town is changing as well. So I think it's great.
And that's really the question, not promoting diversity on the Board of Education, but promoting diversity in the schools is the question. Do you want to add anything more to that?
I'm not sure what,
I
yeah,
know, I'm just
what
reading
the
it.
Board of Ed would do. I mean, me as a parent, I promote that through my children and have them be kind to everybody. But yeah, I don't know.
Ms. Gray? Promoting diversity.
One of the things I have always loved about this town, from when my kids were very young, is the diversity. I think that our town is representative of the world that we live in, and it's a global community, so why not have it feel that way right here at home? So I support every effort to, especially, I think you said something about acceptance or tolerance. For tolerance, I
Yes.
don't think there's any place for intolerance, and I think that starts with our very youngest students. And I think it can be woven into everyday lessons. As far as the Board of Education is concerned, we support our administration and our teaching staff in whatever way they ask when it comes to introducing programs or instruction that can facilitate such a need as tolerance and diversity.
Ms. Hira?
How do you promote diversity? On a day-to-day basis. You start at an early age. It's through education. It's through inclusion, teaching students about acceptance, walking through a school and having a student feel that they are a part of a community. They feel safe, that their voice is being heard. And there's an overall sense of respect among peers and teachers. That, to me, is inclusion, and that, to me, is accepting and promoting diversity.
Thank you. Mr. Juana?
As someone who came from a different culture, I experienced a lot of diversity as well, and I fully supported diversity in the school district, in our culture right now. I believe the school is pretty diverse. We have a lot of people from different backgrounds, but I also want to make sure that we have another kind of diversity, that is diversity of thought, that whoever have a different opinion than you have, they should be respected as well. So not only because of the cultural background, but you can also have respect for diversity of thoughts. That is something that I want to make sure that we all have that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'd like to thank you for your questions. We will now have the candidates' closing statements, beginning with Suzanne Schaefer-Skalski.
Well, thank you very much to the League of Women Voters and to everyone who showed up here tonight. This is actually really great. The questions were wonderful. And I think that we are really lucky as a district that we have a high-functioning Board of Education already, and that so many people who are well qualified are willing to step up and run. You can't go wrong here. I believe that as a district and a Board of Ed, we're here to support our students, teachers, and administrators to make decisions that are the best for our students. And as a member of the Board of Ed, I think we're already ready to face the challenges of the future and move our district forward to an even better achievement. I'd like to thank the public for the support of the board over my past year, and I look forward to continuing the dialogue and hopefully representing the town on the Board of Ed in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Stefanos Iwan Joanna.
Thank you, everyone, for attending these sessions. And I just want to say that I've been very fortunate enough to enjoy the privilege of the American education system. And I really wanted to make sure that our students, our children, have the same opportunities that I have had, or even better. Our school district has an excellent reputation, locally and nationally, and I intend to keep it that way. As a finance professional, I believe that we need to take a holistic approach to capital allocations to make it more effective, efficient, and productive. And with $105 million in budget, we can deliver the world's best and finest educations to your children that they are entitled to. And to have a successful school district, we need to have dedicated students, effective teachers, and empowered parents. to be involved actively in their students' activities. So having said that, I would be honored to have your support, your faith in me, and your vote on November 5th. You can check out my website, juanaforboe.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Rushika Hira.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters, the other candidates, and everyone in the audience for coming here tonight. I am hopeful everyone got a chance to get to know us and our views a little bit better. There is a lot going on with our school district. It is a time of change, and it is a great opportunity for the community to work together to create policies which will not only strengthen our school district, but improve the culture and climate of our schools. Many parents and students in our community feel as if their voices are not being heard. We need to communicate better. There needs to be more transparency. With that being heard, our goal is the same, and that is to make certain that all our students not only thrive academically, but when they graduate, they're confident, creative individuals who have a positive outlook on their future and have this innate desire to continue to learn, explore, and challenge their minds. That is what I stand for, and if elected, every decision I make on this board will align with that goal and will be in the best interest of our students. I believe I have a unique skill set that will help the board. I am a listener, a problem solver, writer, and negotiator. I am not afraid by any means to ask difficult questions that deserve answers, but I'm also a team player. I ask for you to come out, support me on November 5th. It was a pleasure to have this opportunity to speak to you tonight, and thank you for your time, which I know is valuable.
Thank you. Karen Gray.
It has been my distinct pleasure to serve on the board for the last 5.5 years, and I welcome the opportunity to continue to serve. I am extremely passionate about my commitment to our schools and our children. I just hope that in the spirit of communication, which has been a theme throughout the last year, from at the very beginning of our strategic planning process, that we can make great strides in communicating with each other, board members with parents or staff members or support staff members or administrators or just taxpayers who are interested in what's going on in the school. We all have to work together, and we all have to play our role. I have been fortunate to play the role that I have been in for the last 5 years, and it's been a great education. I encourage everyone out there, and thank you for organizing this event and for attending this event. No matter what way you cast your vote when you go to vote, I hope that you will come to meetings, get informed, stay involved, because our children's future depends on people like the people in this room. And I'm going to end with a quote that actually makes me teary. But it's a favorite. Never doubt that a committed group of individuals can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. And I believe that deeply in my heart. I hope that if you have questions about my position on anything, you will email me, Karen.Gray at, K-Gray at Bernard, sorry, not trying to divert, at Bernard's BOE, or you can call me. I'm in the directory. I would love to hear from you.
Thank you. Lauren Beckman.
I just wanted to bring up at the last board meeting I attended, I was inspired by the passionate speeches about math counts and Science Bowl and the science fair being cut at Mount Prospect. I thought it was great, because I've been to other meetings where just a few people came, and it's great to see that community coming together. And I look forward to meaningful dialogue with the members of the board and the community, and I hope these parents stay involved in the board meetings, and I wish I knew about math counts when my kids were in middle school. I'm sad I missed that. And then there was also a lively debate about the school expansion, and even tonight, and I feel like these discussions are absolutely essential. It means that the community and parents are involved in communicating with the board and holding the board accountable for their decisions. So I recently attended a New Jersey School Boards Association candidates briefing to learn more about serving on the board, and it's very interesting, and I look forward to some of the training opportunities that they have. And I don't expect to have all the answers on the first day, but but I look forward to serving on the board. Thank you for your time and consideration, and please vote on November 5th.
Thank you. I hope you all found this evening an informative one. I want you to urge your friends to visit www.vote411.org for complete election information, and tell them that they can find a video of this forum at the Bernards Township website. Please remember to vote on Tuesday, November 5th. Thank you.